I'll start with an introduction for those of you I don't know. My name is Maia Owen or Maia Huff-Owen. My parents gave me many last names, so you'll see both in my Zoom name. I am a professional dog trainer, and I really have specialized in working with dogs with fear or aggression issues, and puppies. So those are the kinds of main areas that I've worked in. I also work with other species, and I think working with other species can be very helpful for looking at behavior with a bigger picture lens there too. So this course is a course that Victoria Stillwell and I designed together, and it's a course that is the Stop Reactivity course and the family of courses in that, including the Reactivity for Professionals course. And this live master course is an add-on to those courses. And the thought behind it was that there are many educational opportunities in our positive reinforcement based dog training space. But one thing that I hear over and over again from my mentees, one thing that I certainly still feel actually, is that there aren't as many spaces that are small enough that you can work real cases in a safe environment and actually put into practice some of the things that you're learning. And so this live master course is an attempt to fill that gap or for reactivity in this industry. And it's a chance for us to work together and to work with real cases, to do it with colleagues, to learn from what your colleagues are doing. I think sometimes we can feel like an island. I don't know if you felt this, but I certainly have felt like, well, what are my colleagues doing? What do they do in cases like this? I never get a chance to see them. What's working for them? And so this live master course is a chance to take that course knowledge, if you will, book knowledge, and see how it works with an individual dog that you're working with and see how it works with your skills and your clientele. So that's my little spiel, my intro. I'm very happy to meet all of you, and you're welcome to ask any questions that are coming to mind for you about the reactivity course. And I'll call it like the course family. So that's the guardian directed course on positively called Stop Reactivity, the course for professionals, and then this live master course. So Julie, you asked, besides discussing case studies, what more will we get out of this course that's not available in the professional reactivity course? And I think it's a great question. So we will be discussing case studies, but the case studies that are live, which is to say that these are not case studies that are completed. And this could be your own dog. Like Anne, if you join, you might do it with your own dog, or it could be a client's dog or another dog that you regularly have access to. Those case studies are there as the material on which we can all work and learn together. So it gives us a chance to analyze complex cases that are happening in real environments. No matter how many little scenarios you read about Bingo, who lives in a high-rise apartment and has two people who care for him, the details that come out of a real case and the challenges, frankly, that come out of a real case are very different and at a different level of like granularity or detail than if you were imagining those scenarios. So the case study will give us a chance to analyze those real cases. For example, we may have discussions about what to prioritize when multiple issues are happening at once. How do we make those decisions? How are we going to help our clients make those decisions, or how will you make those decisions for your own animal? And then we will also do practice together, kind of like what you were just talking about, Sarah, like recognizing those subtle changes in a dog's behavior, and then noting what in the environment is changed that is correlating with that, so that we can start to identify those environments and not just the body language that's there. Body language is huge for reactivity cases, but as an industry, I think we've fallen down because we've taught others to look only at body language and not to look at body language as a mirror of changing conditions around the animal. And that has led to a focus on changing the animal until the body language changes. But the real tools that we have for more permanent change, in my experience, is to look at it as a mirror or as a relation. So we're going to practice some of that. Last time we went through the course, many students said that they learned from not just from me, but from their fellow students. They got good ideas from their fellow students. They learned from how they were applying cases in ways that they would not have if they had not seen their work or heard them discuss their work. And I also learned from the students in there and always do. It's one of the great parts of the job for me is it's like I think of it like a think tank of really like-minded, serious professionals who are still growing, even though they have often a significant amount of experience and education under their belt. So that environment is the environment I think in which, at least for me, along with those complex dogs, those are the two ways that I've grown most in the industry. So grown my own skills most. And I hope too that you will have a chance to try out what we discuss and see what is working or what doesn't work. Oftentimes you'll get advice and you'll go out, you go, that sounds like a great idea, or I'm not sure about that. And you go out and try it and then there's no follow-up. There's no adjustment. There's no way to come back and say, all right, this was semi-successful or this wasn't successful or what could we do differently here? So that's the goal in there that you have those choices. So you could think of this like, well, this is Tiffany's gonna laugh at me because I'm so not sporty. I do dog sports, but I'm so not sporty. But my partner, who is sporty, swears that the way that you get good at any skill is you put yourself on the court or in a room with people who are as good or better than you. That's how you do it. If you're always playing with people who are not as good as you and or who have less skill than you, like when we work with clients, they hire us because we have more experience and skill in this area than they do, then we tend to plateau in our own skills. And right now in the industry, I don't think we have enough space for actually doing that, being in a live room with them. So that's my hope for it. Okay, Pip. Hi, Pip. Pip happens to be the name of my youngest dog. Very fond of that name. Apologies if I missed this already, but will we be able to session plan together, please, with the caveat that every dog is different and goes at their own pace? Yes, in a way. So each week, the format will involve some lecture. So we will go through some lecture together, talk about some of the concepts that are underlying what's in the course, give you space to share your own experiences or questions with that, and then we will review videos that are submitted. Each week, we may not review every video from every trainer. It just depends on how much submission we have each time. And in those videos, part of that, one of the things you could do with that is that we could talk about the next session. Now, if you're submitting a video in 1 week, just practically, and you're going to see the client within a few days, you may find that you're actually past the point of the video that you sent by the time we discuss it. So you may need to schedule, if you want to session plan, you may need to schedule the case that you bring to this course so that you can implement the session plan that we can discuss or that we could start in the course with you. So these are just practical considerations for you as you go forward. But yes, the idea would be that we're not just talking in big general strokes, but that we might look at how a small session or a small section of your session went, 2 to 3 minutes, 4 minutes of your session. And we would take the time to analyze that and then say, okay, where do we go from here? What are the next steps from here? And those next steps could be next session, or they could be more information gathering, or they could be looking for other ways to change the environment. All of those might come out of a video review. If, like I said, it may not be possible to review everyone's video every time. If you have a video that you really would like feedback on, and it doesn't make it into because we run out of time in the live course, I also am happy to look at those videos outside of that time and give you one-on-one feedback on them too. That's the goal. Like to Julie's question, the goal is that we can bring it down to that level. To like, okay, what am I actually going to do with this dog the next time we work together? Okay. And Julie said that's my biggest concern: data collection from the client. Yeah, I think it is for a lot of us. It's a piece that I think many of us are not as comfortable with, and I'm still experimenting with it as well. But one thing that I did master's work with Dr. Jesus Rosales Ruiz at the University of North Texas, and behavior analysis. And one thing that I really got from that ethos was that for important things in our life, we need data. We have to keep track of what's happening. It's really important not to give up on that. We keep track of what's in our bank accounts. If we care about exercise, we keep track of important statistics around exercise. We care and notice and keep running information on the things that we really care about in our life. And this should be true for us as behavior professionals too, that we find a way to do it so that we can change how we are interacting and what interventions we are suggesting. But like I hinted before, video is data, and that's part of this course. That is data that we can then go back into and look at and see, okay, what happened here? What were the changes? What was the result? So there are lots of, when we think data, I think we think spreadsheets, and spreadsheets are just one way to get data in there. So are you required to submit video? Yep, it's really important that video come in from students. That doesn't mean that you need to submit every single week, but the course is rich for videos from you practicing in the course. So it is an important part of it. That does mean that you need access to a dog that you're willing to practice these skills with, or a client that you're willing to coach on these skills. And some of you may be thinking, I'm really nervous. I don't know how to take video. What if I take video and everyone looks at it and judges it? I hope that we create an atmosphere where that is not the purpose or the goal for our interactions. Like we are all there to learn, myself included, to learn from the dogs in those videos. Every case that I take, and this may resonate with you, changes what I do for the next case that I take. I learned something from every single dog and person case. So we go in, and I hope that this is an atmosphere of curiosity, of seriousness around it, in the sense that we take it seriously. We value the experiences of these animals and of their guardians too. So we take it seriously, and kindness for each other. Like you wouldn't be in this group unless you were willing to be a brave learner and keep going. So the goal is, yes, you share video, but I hope in a space that feels safe and feels worth it to you, that you get something out of it, that you get better for it, and you get better for watching your colleagues' videos as well and discussing it. I will confess that one of the hardest things for me in my training was learning to turn on the camera when I was training. I was just so bad about it. I would just be like, I'll do it next time. I'm just gonna mess around. And once I learned that for me anyway, video was often the most valuable form of data because I could go back and analyze it in multiple ways later on. Then I realized that even though it was a practice that I wasn't yet good at, that it was worth getting good at. And I think as a result, the animals in my care, including my clients' dogs and other animals, have really benefited from that. There are things in the moment that you just won't see. And you go, I don't know why you did that. And then you go back and look at the video and you go, oh, it's because I did that. Or, oh, it's because I didn't do that. Or, oh, it's because that happened and I didn't notice it over in the corner. So our animals are always telling us that stuff. But when we're live, we often don't get to see them. Um, Great. So, Andrew, you said you have a fearful rescue dog to work with. Victoria recommended the Brave course is excellent for fearful dogs. Could this dog get any benefit from this course? So, this is a great question. This course is designed for dogs that are barky and lungy at stuff. That could mean inside or outside. A lot of the skills in the course are demonstrated on leash outdoors. The reason for that is because when we have dogs that get that label of reactivity, often the most challenging environment that we have is the outdoor environment because we have the least control over that environment. But that doesn't mean that dogs who are barking, lunging, growling, moving toward the thing, that they are inside would not be appropriate for this. Usually when we label dogs as fearful, we are describing dogs that don't go toward the thing that they're uncomfortable about, but actually retreat. So that's when I think about that label. Why do we label some dogs as fearful and some dogs as reactive or aggressive? It's often not the underlying experience of the dog, but whether they're distance increasing or distance decreasing. So it is possible to go through this with a dog with a label of fearful, but I'm not sure how or what the behaviors look like in that label. Yeah, okay, so moves away. Um, and so it may or may not, there may be some parts of the course that don't immediately address the way that those behaviors look. It is still very possible. This framework of the zones approach, it comes out of the work of a behavior analyst and psychologist who worked with people, Israel Gold Diamond, and his constructional approach to behavior change. And that approach is much broader than one particular way a behavior looks. It's not just for barking and lunging. And I will say that I apply this kind of model to all sorts of cases that you wouldn't label as reactive. Fearful, shut down, aggressive, like all those labels. So I would say, Andrew, if you would like to do the course with a dog who moves away, that might be very interesting for the students in the course. And you may have to do just a little more work to translate some of the behaviors you are seeing into what your classmates or colleagues are also showing. But fearful behavior is often on a spectrum with reactive behavior, and often it's environmentally controlled. There are many dogs who will retreat first, and when retreat is no longer an option, they then go toward the thing. Many people too. If I were walking down an alley and there was somebody who was making me uncomfortable, I might first look for exits from the alley. I might not look at all reactive. I might look like a little bit fearful. But if we come to a dead end and there's no way to move and that scary person is moving toward me, I might turn around and yell at them. I might tell them to get away. I might run past them. I might even physically push past them if I was scared enough of their behavior. So I wouldn't think of those things as totally separate buckets, but more like a different manifestation. I think I will say, you throw them in, but I will say I think there's benefit to doing this course with a dog you live with and to doing this course with a dog you don't live with, especially if you see clients. So both can be very useful. There are things that you will learn working with a dog you know very well that you don't learn as easily with a dog that you see for an hour a week. But there are also things that work very well when you are with a dog 24/7 that are not as effective if you are coming in and making an episodic intervention, just making one intervention a week for the client. So both are, I think, good learning experiences. And I actually don't know, Andrew, how many places are left, but I'm sure that after this, Tiffany could answer that for you. Can you film yourselves, or is it someone filming us, or a camera on a tripod? A tripod is an excellent investment if you are going to work with this, especially if you're going to work with this outside. It is really helpful to have a tripod that you can set up and put your phone in or use another camera in. Most people seem to use phones. I certainly do use my phone for this. It is very helpful to be able to film both the dog and the person handling the dog. So if you are handling the dog, like if you are on the other end of the leash or you are performing whatever interventions you're working on, it's very helpful if your body is also in the picture so we can look at what you did and then what they did and then what you did again. So a tripod is great for that. At least where I am in the US, you can get a very nice flexible phone tripod online for $10 to $15 at most. Mine's still going, even though I do all sorts of outdoor dog sports. It's been out in the rain. It's been stuck to fences. It's still going 10 years in. It was a very good investment of money to do that. So a camera on a tripod is great. If you're working with a client, you may want to film the client and the dog working together yourself. But you may also, if this is a live session with a client, you may want your hands free to help them. And so having a camera set up somewhere can be great. I've also had students, though, get around this by using like a mug and putting their phone in the mug and using that as their tripod. I have clients who do it that way. You can tape it to a stack of books. There are lots of ways that you can get around it, but I would think that a $10 investment, if for me, has been worth it, and it might be for you too, so that you can get everyone on camera. Yeah. Yeah, so just in general about another reason that I really wanted to do this course or offer an option to do this course live is because a lot of the work in the zones approach looks a little different than at least what I was taught and what many of us were taught in our basic education about what we do about fear, aggression, or reactivity. In many of those cases, we were taught to use desensitization and counter conditioning. And that's often where that early education, at least for me, that's where it ended. And those are very powerful tools. In some cases, what I have found in reactivity cases is that they are often not the big hammer, like they're not the tool that's going to really make permanent change. And even when they are an effective part of a program, a reactivity program that really helps a dog thrive and a person thrive with their dog is so much more comprehensive than pairing a trigger with food, for example, or another high value item. So when we start to think broader than that, though, it really got me thinking about, well, how do you teach that? If you've never seen anyone do it and you've never done it, how are you going to apply it? And I was lucky enough to learn some of these skills in bits and pieces from other really amazing trainers. And they showed me live how to do a lot of this stuff. So I wanted to give some of those experiences back to you. I also think even for desensitization and counter conditioning, we get this sort of big theory, but we don't actually know what people are really doing, what other trainers are really doing. Like, what does that look like at the procedural level? When are they moving up? What are they looking for? When are they pairing it? What is the time between trials? Are we going right back in to see the thing? Are we waiting a minute? Are we doing one trial a day? Are we doing 30? If we're successful at this, how much do we move forward the next day? Do we move directly up or do we review what we did the day before? Those kinds of procedural decisions, those are the ones that our dogs experience. They don't experience the theory. They experience what we actually do with them. And so it is, I think, really important that we find a space as an industry to show what we are actually doing and to discuss what the effects are of those variables on the individuals that we work with too. Great, Andrew. Yeah. This is, I think, one of the hopes with the zones approach and the reason that it's also a guardian course is that really effective work on big behavior problems should be simple. Like it doesn't mean that your analysis is simple, but if the actual implementation is not simple, it's going to be very hard even for professionals to do it well. So I think it can be a very nice addition, kind of wherever you're at. This is the same kind of material, not at the depth, not with the nerdiness that we will cover it in this live course, not with the theoretical principled explanation underneath it, but this is the kind of information that I do when I work with reactivity cases all the time with regular folks, just like Sarah shared that you're doing too, Sarah, and others. I share it because I find that as I get more experience, I figure out how to make things simpler and simpler and simpler, more tailored and simpler. And those go together. If you have a big recipe that you need to work for many of your cases, but you're not individualizing it, then you're going to need 8 or 10 or 12 recommendations. Maybe only 3 are helping this particular dog, but you're going to say do all of them, do the big package, do the big package. And as you start to get more experience, you can individualize, which also can help you make things much simpler. And you can tailor it. This is part of the zones approach, but you can tailor it to the person and the dog's strengths, what they're good at, what they enjoy. If you can do that instead of looking and saying, oh, this is a big trigger for him, so we're going to spend 80% of our time working on his weakness. If you can focus on and tailor your interventions to what the person and the dog or the people and the dog already enjoy and are good at, you will tap into a whole other source of strength and maintenance for those behaviors. Very often, we train clients to look at their dogs as problems, and then we go in to try to fix what's wrong with the dog. And when we do that, I think we leave a lot of what is actually going to help maintain a good life on the table. We just forget to ask about, well, what are they, where are they comfortable? What do they enjoy? What are you good at? What does he already know how to do? And how can we leverage those things to help him have a good life and to help you have a good life with him too? So simple is the goal, but the work is in figuring out, okay, which piece am I going to take for this person or that dog? And what can come out the other end is actually quite a simple behavior program. But there's a lot of sophistication that goes into deciding what that is for each individual. Yeah. All my dogs are sleeping and curled up behind me. Both of them would have been labeled at various points in their life as reactive dogs, to your point, and I love a challenge. I love a difficult dog, or complex dog. So, and you asked, are we going to run this course more than once a year? That is the goal. The goal is to run it more than once a year. Right now, we don't have another set on the books just because I've got conference travel and other things going on until 2027 after this course is done. So we probably won't run it again until 2027, but the goal will be to keep it as an ongoing course. And maybe Sarah's right. We should grow it to something that also continues beyond just this, the one discrete course with sessions. One thing to think about is, and I think this is coming across, but I'll say it directly, is that attendance is really important and continuous attendance is important for the course. That doesn't mean that if you need to miss one class that that's the end of the world. But if you find that you will be missing multiple classes, then this might not be the right time to take the course. But there will be opportunities in the future to do it. And Andrew, I agree. A recording could be useful because people are bringing their, in general, like in theory, because people are bringing often their own dogs or they're bringing client videos into this. Right now, we are not recording the live courses. I also have found that I think it creates an environment where people are feeling safer if they know that who's responding to their work is in the room with them and they can respond back to them. So for now, anyway, the courses are not, the live part of the course is not recorded. Obviously, the Pro React course is, and that we have material in between. But the live part is live. What happens in there stays in there. You get a chance to speak to the people who are really with you at that moment and speak back to them. And there's not an asynchronous aspect to that. I wrestled with that. That's where I've landed for now, and I think it's working for now. So I'm trying to keep it small, Kim. So the question is how many people can be in the course at one time? I'm trying to keep it small. This is not exactly scalable because of what I wanted to do. So we're trying to keep it under 12 people. It may be even smaller than that. It's possible. I'm going to look and see what enrollment looks like, but I might split it into multiple groups if it gets too large as well. But I think the goal is that really we could all fit on one screen with our videos on and all have a chance to ask our questions and make comments so that it really does stay pretty little. Think small cohort. My ideal number for this course is somewhere between, I want to say 6 and 12. I think that means that if somebody's not there, we still have plenty of voices in there. But if you are somebody who often waits to speak, you should have a chance to do that without feeling like you can't get a word in. So you could also work multiple dogs in this course if you're thinking about who you have access to. As we go through, we're going to follow some of the lessons that are in the Pro Reactivity course, starting with talking about what the zones are, mapping the zones for a particular dog. What does it look like for this dog? How to do an interview with a client that will help you start to figure out where is this dog comfortable? What are their strengths? How can we start from that point as opposed to just their weaknesses? We'll then go through and look at those skills that you might teach, as well as shrinking the problem for each of those dogs. So it is also possible for you to use different dogs or clients for different lessons. You probably do want to stick with just one for each little section, but if you have multiple cases or if you don't have access to one dog continuously throughout it, it is possible to do an interview with one of your clients, for example, and then work on the nuts and bolts of teaching, let's say, a discomfort zone skill to another client or to another dog of yours. And we've also had people teach their family members or household members, way back to your point, Anne, about husband training or wife training or partner training. It is possible if you have a willing family member. I've even had people work with their teenage kids to teach some of these skills. My goal for you is that you come out of this with more information and more skills about how to look at the complexity of the case that comes to you and make really smart decisions about what your next step is going to be to help them. And also that you come out of it with the skills to coach and teach both the dog and the person so that they come out of it knowing what their next steps are going to be. So as long as you have somebody where you can practice that, you will have the full benefit. Now, if you have no one that you can coach, you're welcome in the course. You will miss out on the chance to try your own skills and get feedback, but you will still, I hope, have classmates who submit their coaching work, and that means you will be able to see that coaching and feedback, and you may still learn quite a bit from that, even if you're working one-on-one with your own dog, and you don't have access to another person that you can practice with for that. Other uses that I have heard coming out, and this goes back to your question, Andrew. So we're focusing on reactivity. Reactivity is a label that we give to a way a behavior looks. That's not the same thing as what the behavior's function is for the dog or what the experience is for the dog. But other ways in which students have taken this and applied this beyond. I have somebody running a puppy program for a guide dog organization now using the zones approach. We have people working in shelters using the zones approach, and we're actually developing courses directly at that, but we've had students who've taken it and run with it. I just had a foster puppy in my own house who went to her forever home. She was not struggling with reactivity yet, but you could see it brewing in her little baby brain. And so we were using it as a puppy raising protocol as well, or a sort of framework for puppies as well. So there are ways that I hope that this idea can have legs for you and give you new tools and options, new ways of thinking about cases beyond reactivity, even if we don't go directly at those in the course. Although we might do a little bit of if we have time, we might do a little bit of side questing about what other ways you might use it in the course as well. Yeah. I do value, and the course does value too, using as much as possible descriptive language, avoiding labels, using and adhering to behavior science when we are talking about our cases and we're working through our cases. That's my own background and those are my own values. And so that's also part of the course, is a way to look at the animal in front of us and not tell ourselves stories without evidence to go behind them, so that we can really see the dog that's in front of us. So those are other sort of general culture pieces of the course that you may be wondering about. That doesn't mean that we won't use those labels ever, or that you will be scolded for using any labels, but that the goal really is that we describe what we're seeing in observable and measurable terms, that we pay exquisite attention to the contingencies that may be supporting or maintaining the behaviors we see, and also to the contingencies, the ABCs that may be able to support the behavior we'd like to see. So we are going to use those kinds of frameworks as we go through the course as well. And you said probably works for partners as well. Yeah, it might. Sometimes it works. So your mileage may vary. I don't promise anything for partners. Yeah. Now, the final note that I'll make is, will this give you a recipe for every case that you see? No. I'm still learning how to apply this. and basically any of the tools that have been given to me by trainers who were kind enough to show me what they did and that have been effective. So I think of this as one step toward brave learning, in the words of my colleague Sarah Owings. One step of brave learning toward learning how to take the knowledge that you're taking in at the level of like general level and have it really affect and change the lives of the dogs that you're working with, like to help the rubber meet the road. And it is just one step in that direction. And there are many other ways that you could take those steps. I hope that if you have more questions coming out of this, or if you're not sure or you didn't want to ask them publicly, that you now feel like you could come and ask us. I will answer those questions. I've already answered some by email. So if you come out of this and you think you'd rather ask a question privately, or you would feel better about that, or a question comes to you afterwards, please do reach out to us, and I will happily answer them to the best of my abilities too. So I see Kim's question, do we need to take the professional reactivity zone VSA course before we take? Yes. So you would take that, and you would absorb that material so that you can come into this course and actually start to apply it. See what works for you, see what you need to adjust, what you need to modify for your situation. So everyone that is coming into this course should have that background, which means that when you are in the course with your colleagues, that we already have that shared framework and we're working on how to apply it. How does it fit for you? How is it fitting for this individual? And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again since we were talking about the course. This is not a recipe. Those of you who have taken this course with me before, I hope that I communicated that there are lots of ways to make individual adjustments for individual trainers as well as for individual dogs or families. That there are principles that we are looking at that we are trying then to bring down and apply in a meaningful and impactful way at the individual level too. I do think before we go into the question about the course, so many of us came into this industry because of a complex dog, and many of us also grew again. Like we may have been cruising for a while until we then lived again with a dog with either new complexities that we hadn't encountered or more intense versions of those complexities. So I know it sounds trite and common, but I really do thank the dogs in our lives who come in and say, grow your skills. We need you, grow your skills. Um, what you're describing, like where you can set things up and he's perfect and you have a great interaction, but then when you get into the real world, things are starting to fall apart. That is part of the reason to do a live course with real time application, feedback, and adjustment. And the goal there is that there really aren't recipes. I mean, there aren't. This is the sad part about training and behavior, but there really aren't recipes that we can apply to individuals and have them be successful. What we really need, I think, is a framework, and a framework that we can then use to analyze what interventions we put in place, what was effective about them, because they're rarely utter failures or utter successes. They're often parts that are effective. And if we can suss out and you can analyze and figure out, okay, this really worked here for us, and this looked like it would work in a more controlled environment, but actually out here it wasn't, it didn't help him, or it wasn't doable for me, one or the other, then we can take that and we can use that to start to refine and really individualize a program. And for me, that to me is like the next level up as a dog training professional, is figuring out how to individualize a program for the individual in front of you. And that means like the ecosystem. That's the person, that's the dog. In your case, it's two people and a dog, right? So that kind of check back and forth until you individualize a program, I think is very, very helpful. And to me, it is the next level of professionalization. Many of us, I think, many of our clients too, if you're seeing clients, they have had good success with one or two or three dogs. If they've had multiple dogs in their life, they often chose to get a second dog or a third dog because they had a good relationship or a working relationship with that first dog. And I think many of us get the call that is like, this dog is totally different. I've been great with all my dogs. They've all done this, and this dog is totally different. And what's wrong with this dog? Like, what is going on? But as a professional, if you are just a dog guardian, you may maybe see four, five, six, seven dogs at most in your lifetime. But as a professional, you see hundreds of dogs. And so you have a different sense of what looks normal for a dog, what the sort of spectrum of behavior is, and you can individualize much better than sort of applying what worked for my last dog or what worked in this
Mm.
environment. So yeah, that's the goal really is to take cases like that where we've had a little bit of success, but we are stuck. Or we thought we were having success. This is another case, and I don't know if that's the case for your golden, but where we thought, oh yeah, this is going to work really well. But actually, even though it got us like one tick toward what we thought of as good behavior, it didn't really address the foundation underneath it. And so
Yeah.
we keep going up to one tick of good behavior and falling back down and going up and falling back down. In
Yeah.
cases like that, we often need to zoom out and do a different kind of analysis, like look at the structure differently. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the goal. That's the goal of a zones approach, um, is really to look at the whole ecosystem and to figure out, okay, well, what are the conditions under which he's soft and lovely and enjoying himself? What are those conditions? How do we create those conditions so he can be that in other
Mm.
spaces where he's not
Yeah.
currently able to do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
other sort of
Absolutely. Yeah.
reframe for me, Anne, is like I flip it to not how do we change his emotions? Like his emotions are valid. They are what they are. And we don't know his history, and it may not even be that helpful to know the facts of
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
history, but they are what they are. And they are appropriate given his learning history, his skills, and his current environment. And so we're not trying to change emotions or create new emotional reactions. What we're trying to do is create spaces in which he can learn how to do and feel other things than what he's feeling right
Yeah.
now. And so, one of the things that I think about too in the zones approach, if you aren't familiar with it, there are,
Yeah.
we could have decided on any number. There's nothing magical about the number, but that this was the most functional
Yeah.
way that we could do it, uh, is that we would divide it into three zones. One zone being the comfort zone, where both the dog and the person are enjoying their activities. They have multiple reinforcers and behaviors available to them, for example. Then there is a zone that we would call the discomfort zone. Usually that's the zone, like that's the zombie zone for your dog, right? Where behaviors are big and loud. Everyone's uncomfortable. The person is uncomfortable and the dog is uncomfortable. And then there's a middle zone, though, that I think gets missed a lot of the time and really does make a huge difference to progress.
Yeah.
That we call the tolerance zone. And the tolerance zone is where the dog is coping. One
Yeah.
thing I think we do, though, is we confuse spending time in the tolerance zone with healing.
Yeah.
And that I think can really slow down progress because what the tolerance zone looks like is that we have a case where the dog is often not doing anything to make us uncomfortable. We might describe their behavior as calm or coping or non-reactive. We can even sometimes just use no words in there. So the dog's not making the human uncomfortable, but actually the dog is not in the comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like a mismatch between the person's experience of that environment and the dog's experience of that environment. And when we just look at over and under threshold, we're often lumping together comfort and tolerance. There are good things to do, things that will help progress a case, things that will help dogs actually make more steady progress for both of those zones, but they look quite different, what the human
Mm.
does in each of those zones. So, learning to recognize those, learning what to do in those, and your dog learning that you know what to do in those, that has
Right.
been really, really important to me.
I will have to leave, unfortunately, but I just wanted to say that I was part of this course and it was amazing. And when it finished, I was really sad
Oh, thank you,
because
Sarah. That means a lot.
I really, really wish we can have it at least once a month and sit
Mm,
together and watch the videos and go through everything because having, as you said, having other trainers there, we always have, everybody has different overview and some different experiences, and it was, I think everybody learned a lot, even if we know already a lot, but you always have something to learn. And if any of you are thinking to join, please do it because you won't be sorry. I'm just sorry that we don't have more calls. So, Maya, if you can manage something, and Tiffany,
It's a
I'll be
good
the
idea,
first
Sarah.
one. I'll be there. I'll be there, whatever you need, because I love it so much. It's really, really great. And the rest of you, they didn't pay me to say this.
Yes, it's
I
true. You were
willingly
not
came
paid.
here.
But you are making me emotional. Everyone knows I'm a crier. I really,
Don't,
really
don't,
want.
don't. But it's
Yeah.
really, I love it so much. So if anything will be in the future, I'll be here for sure.
Thank you, Sarah. I think it's not a bad idea to have an ongoing group too to come
Or
out of this. So,
yes,
yeah.
something once a month. It's so awesome. I don't have words really. Just
It's I
yeah.
think I think that at least I experienced a lot of loneliness in this industry about my
Yes,
actual work too. So
and
along
this
with getting
helps.
Yes, along with getting better, it's really, I think, important to share your work in a way that's safe and confidential with others. So
Mhm.
that is the other goal of this kind of course, is that you have a community of support. It's good to have a community of support around you who doesn't know what you do and who supports you and loves you. That's the important part of to have friends and family. But there is a special kind of support that comes from other serious professionals who are still curious, who are still learning, who are still wanting to exchange ideas. And I really think we need more of those spaces. So I'm putting my shoulder to that wheel to move it a little bit. And I hope that also that we go out and build more spaces like this beyond this particular course. Um, I think, bye, Sarah. It was great
I
to
have
see
to
you.
go. I hope I'll see you soon.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope this was helpful. Just as a reminder, if you are interested in the course, you should have the email with the button to register and enroll. The prerequisites, of course, are having completed or being in the process of completing the Reactivity for Professionals course. Each of the classes are live 90-minute classes that are scheduled for August 25th, September 1st, September 8th, September 15th. We skip September 22nd, and then we have two more classes, September 29th and October 6th. Those are also in the email and also on the website. And as Maya said, you can reach out to us anytime. We're happy to answer any questions you have. And if this sounds like something you'd like to do, we'd love to see you join us.
Great to
Thank you.
meet some new faces and to see familiar faces in here. Thank you for coming. And thanks for your questions. Great questions.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.